I'm recording this for like the third time. I'm gonna like speedrun this explanation. So to create the mesh of the entire backrooms, I took a cube, scaled it up a bunch, subdivided it a absolutely ungodly amount of times, and just selected bits and extruded them down to create walls and stuff. Decided not to be too fancy with it. Then quickly going over the materials. Starting off with the simplest, you have the walls. Literally is just this texture, this wallpaper texture, scaled and repeated over this stuff into a standard principle BSDF. It's pretty simple, basic stuff. Then the floor is just a bunch of random noise, Voronoi texture things to get this. And then to get the colors, I put that through a color ramp, plug that into a principle BSDF, and I also take this and plug it into a displacement map just to give it a bit more texture. So here it doesn't show too well, but on rendered, especially in the lighting, you can see it being that little bit affected. For the ceiling, you have pretty much the same exact Voronoi texture setup as in the previous one. Then I put that through a color ramp just to give it some more color and stuff. And then that goes into a brick texture to give it the color and stuff, and that goes into the color of the principal BSDF. And then I have a pretty much the exact same brick texture here to select random parts, then color ramp to select more specific ones, then multiply that to adjust the strength a little bit, and then that is in the emission, and that makes the lights actually emit light, because if this wasn't a part of it, there would be no light in the scene at all. Then quickly with the camera motion, it's a pretty basic setup. It just follows a path, and as you can see, these are the keyframes for the path. I try to change the speed as it goes up to make it look more natural. So the first bit is slower, then as it looks around, it's also like pretty slow, but a bit faster than the last section. And then as it goes up to look at this part, it moves up relatively quickly, but it's a pretty basic setup. And then there is a sphere empty that the camera is always looking at through the constraints, and this just makes it easier to make the camera look in certain directions rather than messing around with the rotation of this. I just say look at this and move this around. This is also keyframed throughout the scene. This is also what the camera focuses on. And then I use the camera shakeify add-in to add shake to the camera and make it look more handheld. This would feel like about the right time to shout out this video by Andy R Animations. This is where I also get the camera shakeify add-on from, and this was a big inspiration to me making this at a random point at like middle of the night. Now what really makes everything come together here is I think the compositor. So this is the basic render, and as you can see it doesn't look very good. So first I mess around with the exposure and gamma to give it a more dramatic and contrasting look and stuff. Then glare, which just a lot of the time helps to add more realism into the camera and the scene overall. It can really add a lot. Then we have some lens distortion to add the curvature of the entire thing, as well as chromatic aberration. And then I have a posterize filter to reduce the amount of colors, and it just makes the video look a little older and stuff. Then there's a diamond sharpen that by itself looks really bad, but with the denoise it can actually do quite a lot, because especially if you look at these lights right here, without the diamond sharpen, they're a lot more boring, more plain. And with the diamond sharpen, they look more interesting. And you can also get some purples and like weird kind of old footage colors in here, which helps a lot. And very quickly, it's 4x3. It's very low samples because it doesn't need very many samples. Did use motion blur just because I felt like why not. And did it as a series of PNGs and then threw that into DaVinci Resolve. And I am, matter of fact, editing this right now as I'm recording.